Continue our work with inequalities. So here I see parentheses. Let me get rid of parentheses by distributing the negative 3 to the inside. So I have negative 3x minus 12, then plus 2 greater or equal to 7 minus x. The left side, I can simplify it. I can combine my like terms. So when it comes to x, I have negative 3x, then minus 10 is greater or equal to 7 minus x. I said in this case for inequalities, I highly recommend have the x on the left side. So my negative x, I'm going to move it as a plus x. My negative 10, I'm going to move it as a plus 10. So I have that negative 2x is greater or equal to 17. Divide both sides by negative 2. Keep in mind I said negative 2. So I'm going to have x is less than or equal to. I flip my arrow because I divided by a negative. Now 17 over 2 is the same thing as, what's a negative? As a negative 8 in 1/2. So I have my number line. Let's say I have a negative 8 here, and then I have a negative 9 here. Negative 8.5, it's in between negative 8 and negative 9. Now, because of my inequality symbol, it has that or equal to part, so we're going to use a bracket. Looking at the arrow, it looks like it goes to the left. So I'm going to do a bracket, and it goes to the left. Now, as an interval notation in the homework, remember, I'm asking you, how far left do you go? I go as far left as a negative infinity. Infinities are always open because we never reach them. So on interval notation, we go as far left as negative infinity. Then I ask you, how far right do you go? And we go as far right as a negative 8.5 or negative 17 over 2, however you're going to call it. So I go as far right as negative 8.5, but this has a bracket. Infinities are always parentheses. Now your other numbers, if it has that or equal to sign, it's a bracket. Otherwise, it's also a parenthesis. Now, when we have two inequality signs on each, I want to separate them as if I had 3 sides. In the middle, I want the letter by itself. I have to get rid of the minus 1. I'm going to add 1 to each side. So I'm going to add 1 here, and I'm going to add a 1 here. So my negative 1 goes to positive 1 to the other sides. So I have my negative 1 is less than or equal to negative 3k, which is less than or equal to 6. Looking in the middle, to get the k by itself, I'm going to divide everything by negative 3. Keep in mind I'm dividing by negative, so I'm going to flip my arrows. So I have 1/3 greater or equal to k greater or equal to negative 2. Let's say we had a negative 2 here, my label. Let's say this is 0, and this is 1. My important numbers, I see 1/3, which is about here. My other important number is negative 2, which I can see right there. My negative 2, I'm looking at the sign next to it, and I ask myself, is it parentheses or is it bracket? In this case, it's bracket. Then I look at the 1/3, and I ask myself, is that parentheses or is that bracket? In this case, it's bracket. Now the k is in between them, so that's my graph. Now when it comes to interval notation, how far left do I go? I go as far left as negative 2. It's a bracket. How far right do I go? I go as far right as 1/3. That's also bracket.